Fonterra has announced its 9-month profit to the end of April was $1.08 billion, was up 11%. It's forecasting, and this is great off the back of last season, forecasting again $10 a kilo for milk solids for the next financial year, for the next season. I sat down with the Chief Executive, Miles Hurrell. Miles, good morning, good to be with you.
Yeah, pleasure to be here.
Put this into context for us. What does this mean for New Zealand?
Oh, sort of back of the envelope, $15 billion into the New Zealand economy, and of course, we could all do with that at the moment. Things are a bit rough here in New Zealand. I think we all know that, and so proud that the ag sector, dairy, and Fonterra can do its part to hopefully sort of steer us in the right direction for the year ahead.
There's a lot of talk about the potential IPO or a trade sale of your consumer brands, and how's that progressing?
Yeah, well, it's a lot of work. I mean, that business, it's decades old, and it's been integrated into Fonterra for a number of years. So the separation it takes a lot of time to separate that business from the core. But going hard on both the trade sale, as you say, and the initial public offering. So we announced about a year ago that'd be a 12 to 18 month process. So we've just ticked over that first hurdle, and so the pressure's on us to keep moving, and things are okay at the moment.
And are you selling all of it or part of it, or?
So there's a couple of sort of areas that are ring fenced, but by and large it's all our consumer brands businesses plus an integrated business in Australia and integrated business in Sri Lanka by and large. So we call it the consumer and associated businesses, but by and large it's our consumer branded business.
You've mentioned today the uncertainty, the global uncertainty, Trump and his tariffs and all of that. How big of a worry is that for Fonterra?
Well, at a macro level, it is a worry. I think that when you consider, that we're advocates for free trade here in New Zealand, and we need to see free flow of products across the world, that the world norms have changed. All those things are a concern when you think about the role that we play in the world that we play in. When you get down to sort of the granular level, the fact that we've all got a tariff put on us sort of puts us back on a level playing field. So not ideal, but we are living with it. And at the same time, there may be opportunities that come as a result of that. As some markets become more punitive on them versus us, it becomes an opportunity for us. But when you take it to the next highest level, it's not a good thing for anyone, and that's the stuff we need to watch.
You're a global company. Does it keep you up at night?
A little. There are things that probably keep me up ahead of that, because at the end of the day, there are things that you can control which keep me up a little bit more. Where those things are, to be fair, outside of our control. Our job's to try and navigate and be nimble at the same time. So. Yeah.
Government wants to double our exports within the next 10 years. And one of the ways they're trying to do that is this FTA with India. Do you expect that it would include dairy?
Well, the commentary that's come out of the Prime Minister and the Trade Minister in the last couple of months has been very positive. The fact that dairy is in the conversation, but we're also realists that these things, it's going to be a very, very tough conversation, and I suspect it's going to go on for some time. The request that we put into our government is that a comprehensive outcome is a heck of a lot better than a fast outcome. So if it needs to take a bit more time to get an outcome for what's good for all New Zealand, and we'd argue for the whole globe when it comes to international trade, let's take our time to get the right outcome. But we're realists at the same time.
Because that obviously doesn't suit Luxon's political timetable that he's promised voters. But does that? What would be the difference between dairy and included and not included for New Zealand?
Well, I mean, India is the largest consumer of dairy. At the same time, they're the largest producer of dairy. They're by and large self-sufficient at the moment, give or take. But as their population grows, their middle class grows, we've seen that play in China the last 10 or 20 years. There's no reason why you can't see that middle class in India really sort of get larger and stronger. And our argument is they're going to need probably imports to supplement the products that they have from their own markets. And of course, we're talking about the specialty proteins that we produce, the intellectual property that's gone into developing those. We're not talking commodities here. That's not our game. And so we believe there's an opportunity to support the local dairy and consumer markets in India. And so we believe there's an opportunity for us to work in that regard, but we'll see where it plays out.
Miles, there's huge opportunity. There's also a huge payout for farmers, which means great things for the New Zealand economy. And you do hear a lot in the press about the price of butter. What do you reckon when you hear that?
Yeah, look, and I get that, and I acknowledge that things are tough. The environment in New Zealand, which we said earlier on, I mean, it's not easy at the moment. The economic situation in New Zealand is not as bright as we'd all like it to be, and the cost of living is in front and centre of most families' minds. But the international market is playing a part here. So we're with 8,500 farmers, give or take, Fonterra farmers, and so we're a collection of small families, ultimately, small businesses in their own right. And the international market's going ahead leaps and bounds, and our job is to follow that and get the best returns we can.
And we all benefit from that international price through the investments that are made back into New Zealand's economy.
And we talked about the $15 billion that's going to go into the New Zealand economy. You know, part of that's on the back of the international butter price. Respectfully, the New Zealand element of that is very, very small. It's the international market that drives that in the New Zealand context. And so, that is a good news story. And farmers will go and spend in their local communities, and that'll hopefully flow on and make New Zealand more prosperous in the short to medium term.
How do you reckon Field Days is going to go this year?
Yeah, interesting. It's been a bit quiet the last couple of years, and so I think that the OCR cut again yesterday, and on the back of this decent payout announcement, I think that we should see some buoyant behaviour. I think in Field Days in a couple of weeks.
On the whole, farmers felt for a number of years undervalued by the government, perhaps a bit hard done by in the eyes of the public. How are they feeling now?
Well, they're feeling more positive, but they're also realistic in that that's not universal. And the closer you get to sort of rural New Zealand, they feel it. But if you walk on the street here in central Auckland, I suspect there's still people out there that don't support or understand what goes on in rural New Zealand. So they still feel a bit of that. Our job's to try and build that bridge, if you like. But it goes a long way if we can sort of, inform the New Zealand public of what we're doing, the good stuff, the way that our New Zealand farmers farm. And as I say, if they can spend that money back in their communities but ultimately support all of New Zealand, I think that goes a long way to doing that.
Absolutely. Miles, thanks very much for being with me.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Appreciate it.